Thanks to TCL for sponsoring a portion of this video. On today's episode 69 of You Asked, why is there no digital download version of a 4K Blu-ray disc available? What's the ideal screen size / viewing distance for the most cinematic experience? And a special guest joins us from TCL here in the studio. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and this is You Asked, the show in which I answer questions you asked in hopes that I can help you and others with similar tech questions. If you've got a question you'd like answered, please send it to youasked@digitaltrends.com, and we'll see if your question gets picked to be answered on the show. Now, before I get to the first question, I just wanted to say I hope those of you watching in the US had a great Thanksgiving holiday weekend and a shopping spree over that weekend, if that's the kind of thing you like to do. I know I did. Also, episode 69, dude. Kind of feels like a milestone. Thanks so much for helping make this show a success. And to help celebrate with us, I'm pretty excited about this particular episode because we have Bruce Walker, product evangelist at TCL, coming here to our studio to talk about TCL stuff. And that's a first. We haven't had guests in this studio before, and I am stoked to see this guest segment picking up some steam here on the show. All right, let's get to some viewer questions. First one comes from Cabarso, who writes, what is the difference between HDMI 2.1, HDMI 2.1a, and HDMI 2.1b? Is a 2019 OLED TV with the standard HDMI 2.1 good for the PS5 Pro that has HDMI 2.1b? So, short answer, yes, your LG C9 is a great match for the PS5 Pro. Now, here's why. HDMI 2.1, without the A or B suffix, includes just about every modern HDMI feature that you could want. And that includes up to 48 gigabits per second bandwidth, auto low latency mode, 4K 144 Hz, 8K 60 Hz, like almost all the stuff that you want out of the latest version of HDMI. HDMI 2.1a added support for source-based tone mapping, which some people have abbreviated now to SBTM. Source-based tone mapping allows a device like a game console or a PC to dynamically adjust the HDR tone mapping based on the TV's capabilities, which takes the tone mapping control out of the TV. But, and this is the key distinction, it does that without the user having to do any manual calibration. It's all automated. With that said, the PS5 Pro and prior versions of the PS5 allow you to use HGIG or HGIG tone mapping, where you do a quick calibration on the PS5 and that controls the tone mapping for the games rather than the TV. The only difference is that it requires a bit of input from you. So HDMI 2.1b basically added some stability fixes for that source-based tone mapping feature that came with HDMI 2.1a. So again, that OLED TV will work great with the PS5, and you'll get the best HDR picture possible by doing that manual HDR calibration in your PS5. Michael Grundle writes, hey, are there any digital stores that sell Blu-ray quality digital downloads? I couldn't find any, and it seems like this is the solution to physical media's slow demise. I understand that Blu-rays are massive storage-wise, but we live in a world where you buy to own games that you download, so why can't we have this for movies? It would be cool to own digital versions of Blu-rays, including menus and special features and all that stuff. Thanks for your question, Michael. I'm going to start by saying that I also wish that this were a thing. I'd love to be able to just buy a 4K Blu-ray quality version of a movie as a digital download, or maybe pay extra on top of the disc price to get that. Unfortunately, this does not exist, not as you and I are envisioning it. The closest thing to owning the digital download version of a 4K Blu-ray is through a company called Kaleidoscape. They make high-end home theater movie servers and players, but the downloads that they sell are proprietary, and so is the equipment that you have to use to play those digital files back. It's not like you can play it back using your PC or through a media server like Plex. Outside of that, the closest thing would be streaming your digital movies through iTunes or Fandango at home. That's what Vudu has become, or through Movies Anywhere. Right now, the best you can do is rip your 4K Blu-rays and make your own copies, which is a legal thing to do as long as you own the movie on disc and don't distribute or otherwise screen that movie for commercial purposes. But yeah, with storage getting less and less expensive, I think it'd be cool if we could move toward purchasing digital versions of our movies that are at that super high quality level. I mean, it'd probably be just as expensive for us to buy, but it seems like a low lift for production houses, so why not? And actually, they'd probably make more profit margin by not having to manufacture the discs and the cases and the literature inside and then distribute that out. Let's do it. Will writes, you recently covered some really big TV screens. In your experience, considering typical domestic room sizes and average viewing distances, what screen size really starts to feel like a cinema experience? Okay, well, so I'm gonna do my best here, but the thing is, I'm just not sure what the typical domestic room size is anymore. I mean, in the United States alone, the room size in which someone is watching their TV, and by some extension anyway, the viewing distance seems pretty varied. In my own life, I've been anywhere from 7 to up to 12 feet away from my screen, but I've seen some homes with so-called great rooms where folks are like 15 feet or more away from their TV. But I do think that we can simplify this by relying on a tried and trusted calculator to get us started. THX suggests for the most cinematic experience that you take your viewing distance in inches and multiply that number by 0.835 to get the screen size in inches. So if we take a viewing distance of 10 feet, that's 120 inches, and we multiply that by 0.835, we get about 100 inches. Now, I think that's a good starting point. I think a 98-inch TV viewed at about 10 feet away is awesome. And then from there, you could go a little bit bigger and be okay, and you can also go a little bit smaller and still have a great experience. I will say, though, that for me, it kind of feels like 85 inches is the basement point for a truly cinematic experience. And after that, you really do need to think about how far you're sitting away to get that immersion that you want. Now, I think it's worth pointing out that that calculator isn't really concerned with resolution or whether you can see pixelation or any of that stuff. It's about occupying your field of view in a manner that is similar to what you might experience in a commercial movie theater. But keep in mind that even in a commercial theater, there's a sweet spot, right? But you may be further away than the ideal if you sit in the back of the theater, or closer than ideal if you're sitting in the front. So yeah, I mean, there's gonna be some room for interpretation. But I think that calculator is a really solid starting point for someone whose main goal is to try to get the most cinematic experience possible. Now, if we take the largest TV screen size available now, 120 inches, which is also a very popular projector screen size, and we work backward, that means that the ideal viewing distance would be about 12 feet. Now, speaking of huge TVs, I'm excited to bring in Bruce Walker, product evangelist at TCL. That's the company responsible for bringing us massive TVs like the 120-inch QM891G, as well as the 98-inch Q6 and 98-inch QM7, both of which have come down to under $2,000, at least for holiday sales. Something I did not think that we would see in 2024, honestly. I brought Bruce in because I want to have a little conversation about how TCL is doing what it's been doing, and I'm going to see if I can squeeze a little bit out of him about what we might see from TCL at CES 2025. Bruce Walker, thank you for literally flying across the country. this morning to join us in our studio. This is the first time that we've hosted a guest here in the studio. I'm honored. I mean, literally flew across the country. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you for hosting me. I'm very excited to be here, excited to talk to you and your audience and talk about exciting TCL stuff.
Look, I feel like we need to talk about the TCL story because from my seat, I mean, we'll go back to the first TCL TV I reviewed. It was a 6 Series TV. What was the model number?
Oh, the P607.
That started it all, right? Because that TV landed in my testing lab, and I mean, if anybody who goes back and watches the review will see that we were shocked. Like, it kind of came out of nowhere for us. What was that like for somebody in your seat? Because previous to that, let's be honest, more of a budget-oriented brand that you might find at Walmart or whatever. And now you've got this TV that's competing with the best that are out there. What was that like for you guys?
It was really fun. It was really a watershed moment for us. You know, when we were talking to members of the media and people at CES and saying, this is going to be one of the brightest Dolby Vision TVs on the market this year, the general response was, yeah, right.
Well, we'll see. Right.
And it really paved the way, and it has allowed customers to believe in TCL as a premium offering.
From my seat, it seemed like that set off a bit of a shift in the product planning. So what was that like kind of at TCL?
Yeah, it was a fun domino effect. And then we started getting better placement at retail partners out there so people could see TCL premium TCL TV sets. And then we were able to leverage all the things that we do great in terms of innovation. You know, we introduced the world's first big screen quantum dot TV back in 2015. I'm very excited that many of the reviews we see now, it used to be when the P605 came out and around that time, it was like value, value, price, value, value, price. Oh, by the way, it performs pretty good too. And now we're shifting that where many of the reviews that we see, price isn't even brought up till maybe as a footnote afterwards. You know, this TV compares with this, this, and this from the big three. And then at the end of the day, it's, oh, by the way, it's also a really good value.
Something that I think a lot of people might consider inside baseball, but it actually has everything to do with how TCL makes its TVs and how you make engineering decisions. TCL is a vertically integrated company, right? What does that mean, and what does that allow TCL to do that other manufacturers maybe can't?
So the overarching picture is we make every component that goes into a TV set. So your audience, the tech-savvy people out there, one of the first things they might say when they point at TV and says, who makes the panel for that TV?
Right.
All the stuff we're talking about, we do. We make the panel, the backlight, the processors, the feet. You know, so we make every component that goes into a TV set. And then there's the whole host of benefits that go with that. From if we control the entire manufacturing process, we can control the quality. We can make sure that component A is going to work perfectly with component B when it gets all put together. And then they're going to last a long time, be a good quality product. Then that dovetails into the value story. You know, why is this TCL offering, why can I get a 75-inch TCL for the same price as a 65-inch and have all the same features? And if you look at the reviews, they're comparable. It's part of that vertical integration story.
So hold on, I want to dig into that. So does that mean like, because you're buying less parts off of other manufacturers, then you're not paying the markup on those parts?
The middleman markup. It's because we're making it ourselves. Our panel manufacturing facility, CSOT, you know, makes our panels for all the TVs that we talk about. Because we make it ourselves, we can pivot and say, oh, 98-inch TVs are hot. Now we can make 98-inch panels, and now we make more 98-inch panels than any other panel manufacturing facility in the world. And because we make it ourselves, we're not paying a middleman markup. And we can bring incredible value to the market.
See, it's all starting to make a lot more sense for me now, because I don't think I was aware of that. Is that also why you're going to see more consistency in the panels across the different sizes? Because, I mean, we look at some other brands and you might get a VA panel in one size and then it might be ADS Pro in another size. But you're consistent across the board.
All the panels we make are our own high-performance VA panels, and on our QD mini LED lines, it's actually a new HVA panel, which does quite a bit to improve the contrast in that whole QD mini LED ecosystem.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe TCL was the first brand to release a mini LED television, right?
Mini LED has really reinvented and breathed an amazing amount of life into LED TV technology. And we introduced the world's first mini LED TV in 2019, the 8 series.
Wow, it's been that long.
Yeah. What? And now it's everyone's flagship TV. is mini LED. All of our flagship TVs this year are QD mini LED. We just want to make sure people understand that that's an important distinction. Unfortunately, when you talk about mini LED, there isn't really a definition for it. A mini LED is a small LED.
Right.
If you took it to the absurd, you can make a TV with one mini LED in the back of the backlight and call it mini LED TV. You know, not all mini LED is created equally. And when you see QD mini LED, you can be assured that it's going to give you top tier performance.
So what we're seeing here on the right-hand side, first of all, you made this, right? You actually... Tell me the story about how you made this thing.
So like most of the cuts have healed, but these are actual backlights. The TCL QD mini LED backlight is from a QM8 TV. The other mini LED backlight is an off-the-shelf backlight that cut up into pieces, set up to an amazing company in California and made these for us so that we really put, you know, kind of a face to the name of what is QD mini LED, and you can see in there the things that make QD mini, our secret sauce, as it were. So, and with QD mini LED, you get things like our own Hexa mini LED chips for incredible brightness, but also Pirelli famously once said, power without control is nothing. So we make all this incredible brightness, but we've also got our own in-house designed and manufactured UWA ultra-wide angle lenses that take all that light and steer it to the front of the cabinet so it comes out through all the layers of the TV. But it's our own HVA panel, which does a very good job of when there's not light there, it closes up and you get deep, rich blacks. And when it opens up, you get a super bright picture on it.
That panel type, I feel like that's kind of important because I've noted in my reviews in the past that let's say that the number of mini LEDs, the number of zones that were involved, everything else, let's say those were more or less equal, the TCL ends up coming out on top in terms of the black levels. And now I'm hearing part of it is because of the VA panel that you're making.
HVA panel.
That makes sense because you can actually see it.
And then the last part of the equation that I find really exciting is, you know, processing.
Right.
Candidly, in our industry, people talk about processing and motion handling. It's generally Sony and then everybody else.
Right.
To their credit. This year, we have not only one processor, TCL has a family of AIPQ processors starting in our S-Class TV. And when we get to our QD mini LED, we have our AIPQ Pro processor that with that powerful backlight, again, with control, you get up to about 65,000 levels of gradation. So you not only get incredible bright whites, but you've measured specs that outperform what we say they do, deep, rich blacks, but you get an incredible grayscale, so you get great shadow details.
But I do want to get back to this prop because on the right-hand side, what you're seeing, if I'm not mistaken, are 3 mini LED lights that are kind of hiding behind this sort of dome lens. And what you notice is that they're spaced fairly far apart. So there's a decent amount of gap in between those. And then on the left, we're looking at the TCL QD mini LED, where you're using individual mini LED diodes, and they're spaced much more closely together.
Very densely packed, get better uniformity, you get better brightness. Because there's so many and so densely packed, you can have better zone control, all the benefits that come from doing that, and you get great picture performance.
From the backlight level, I think what we're seeing here is that rather than use a tight cluster of mini LEDs and then use some kind of lens to kind of broaden it out, you're using individual mini LEDs. And
at the source.
I heard you correctly, you can individually address every single one of those mini LEDs, right? So it's not like you put a cluster on one board and you can just turn that board on and off. You can actually turn each individual light on and off.
It's very exciting.
Now we're starting to understand how it's actually done.
We're in the golden era of TV sets, and the fact that we're now producing products that compete with the best of the best, we're proud of the fact that we think that compared to an OLED, perfect blacks, infinite contrast ratio, we think in the dark man cave environment, sets like our QM7 and QM8 compete very well. But then in the arena of a normal lighting environment where most people watch their TVs is where we kind of stand apart. When you've got 5,000 sub-odd nits of peak brightness on our flagship TV sets, we think it's the best choice for most people.
And also like no burn-in, right?
Right, with the TCL TV, the official TV partner of Call of Duty, if you're a gamer out there, you can game all day, all night and not have to worry about it.
And I've seen this question from viewers more times than I can count. how is TCL actually doing that? I'm starting to get the sense that it's about that vertical integration, right?
Yep, but it also boils down to that manufacturing. The fact that you look at that 98 Q6, it's our backlight, it's our panel, it's our processor.
We're back to the whole, like, there is no middleman charging markup on all these different parts. You can actually make it in a way that others simply can't.
And it's just been a resounding success. Through the end of last year, we were number 2 in sales, five years in a row.
All right, so I know that you can't, like, you don't have a crystal ball, but how big do you think we're going to go here? I mean, 98 is, I still think, is a larger size than most people are currently prepared to accept in their home. But obviously, we're seeing those sell, so that's changing. It used to be 65 was a huge TV, and now it's kind of like, if you don't have, it's not a huge TV. That's like the number one size in the U.S. right now. Is going big a big priority for TCL?
It's big for us. I had to say that. Sorry. It's a huge growth part of the market. The fact that I mentioned earlier, we make more 98-inch panels than anybody out there. So a lot of the marketing we've been doing is, letting people give themselves permission to get a TV that big in their house. And once you do, I saw your childlike wonderment talking about these, 115-inch screens and watching how it's just so much fun. It's a whole different ball of wax watching.
I know that you can't talk about CES. I mean, nobody can. It's a super secret thing. But how excited should I be about what TCL's bringing to CES?
It's going to be another fun year. I mean, our 2024 product is the best that we've ever made. I know we're going to be showing some great stuff next year as well, and we're going to be talking about it before we know it.
Yeah, I know. It's coming up super soon. And that's when I'm going to see you next, is down in Las Vegas. Well, listen, man, thank you so much for coming all this way to give us some insight into it. It's all starting to make a bit more sense now, because it all seemed kind of, how do they pull it off? Now I think I understand a little bit better, and hopefully the audience does as well. Obviously, TCL is a remarkable choice. And look, the holiday shopping season is not over. By a long shot. Yeah, and so I imagine that a lot of folks are going to be looking to do that big upgrade.
Yeah, measure that wall, measure that stand, find room for it. You'll be happy you did.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Bruce. I appreciate it.
Thanks, bud. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that was a lot of fun having Bruce in here. I mean, also, Bruce is just a great guy. So it was great to hear about what TCL's got cooking and how they got to where they're at now. I hope you enjoyed that as well. If you did, please let me know in the comments section, because we'd love to keep doing this, and the more feedback we get, the more other brands are gonna wanna participate. Like and subscribe if you'd like to see some more of this kind of thing. I'll see you on the next one, and until then, here's 2 other videos I think you might like. Cool, man. I'm gonna stop recording.